welcome to Who Corner to Corner podcast. As I'm sure you know by now, my name is Jeff and his name is Paul. And we're joined once again by a very good friend of ours and an increasingly regular contributor to our podcast. It's Mr. Al Dewar. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I'm not sure that's a good thing or a bad thing, really, but
it's a good thing. Take it.
It's a good thing, yeah. I think it's very good, yeah. So we've reconvened to do another commentary tonight, as our previous commentaries have proven quite
kind
popular.
of a commentary, kind of. We're launching a whole new series, Jeff.
Well, we are, yeah. So this is called The First Time. Insert saucy music here.
The First Time with Al Dewar.
Yeah.
First time watch. First time watching
First time
this.
watch. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it is your first time watching.
Seen this episode.
Never seen it before, which I think is a crime, frankly.
Yeah. Now I'm very, I'm excited and I'm also a little bit nervous because you've not seen this one before, Al, so I'm excited to see what you think of it. But I know that the 13th Doctor is not, your favourite era. But I'm hoping that I might be able to use a little bit of my mind control powers to influence your thinking on it.
A bit of Jedi nonsense going on it.
I remember at the time some folk at work watching it. Their opinion was it was Base Under Siege was the sort of very top headline. One thing I can say is I did see the creatures in it, the dregs, because we actually scanned them. We 3D scanned them, and they were pretty impressive. Even when we saw them, I mean, we actually saw them as costumes hanging on a rack. Bizarrely, I think there was one animatronic head that they brought in, which was pretty cool. And then there was a bunch of different masks, and then we had to take a bunch of different reference material because each of them was a slightly different sort of shade or color.
Yeah.
Sort of denote them. But that's literally as much as I remember. And yes, I'm not well. Do you know? I'm really conflicted because I think visually, the show at that point never looked better. Some of the effects are just stunning. Really stunning. I mean, like next level, amazing.
Yeah.
I can't fault that, but I did not enjoy a lot of it. I will go out on a limb and say
I feel wounded.
I'm going into this
with eyes wide open, right?
Armed with Coca-Cola. Or Coke Zero, and with an open mind.
So,
what more can we ask for, really?
Yeah, that's
everyone's got an opinion. Yeah. We aren't all going to like the same stuff, but let's see as we go on. So, are we kind of ready? We got it queued up. Mine's good to go.
Oh, and after we've watched the episode, we've got some comments from people online as well with their thoughts.
Yes, we do. So do stay on.
So we'll go through those as well.
Okay.
All right. Cool. I'll do a count up to 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, there we go.
And we're off.
Glorious purple thing. Now I've
missed those opening titles.
Yeah.
I love these. They are as close to the Hartnell vision of Doctor Who with all the swirly stuff, that kind of Rorschach test weirdness, but done it with a modern sensibility. Yeah, that's what I feel.
I always get dizzy at this point when it goes in, like when the director name comes up, because there's all
you
these
need to sit down.
Layers of.
The opening titles there were absolutely stunning. Theme tune not sold on, but it was very good.
Now, I quite like this. This squid has excuse my French. Basically,
I don't want to know what they're mopping up, to be honest. The first line, I didn't know it was their mating season. What are they mopping up here? It's not good. But it's a bit of bants, isn't it? In the TARDIS with the fam. Bit of bants. Graham's got a whole bunch of coupons.
Fam, isn't it? It's
the original fam before Graham and Ryan left, yeah.
Now, we have seen one of these boxes before, way back in 1969. And, oops, there you go. The second Doctor used one to call on the Time Lords towards the end of the War Games.
Are these the same message boxes that turned up in the Doctor's wife?
That's what I was just
one in
thinking
there as well.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking you
He
meant, Paul.
finds them in Holmes' cupboard, and he
That's
gets
it.
one from the. He gets one.
Corsair.
What the hell's the name of the character? It'll come back to me.
Is it Corsair?
Corsair. That's
Yeah.
it.
And the
I need to watch that one
Corsair
again.
appeared in the 13th Doctor comic series in female form. So and has the same
interesting.
tattoo with the the snake eating itself. Yeah.
This here, I said it when we did our little review on this. Reminds me so much of a Seventh Doctor kind of vibe
Yeah.
story. It's like Paradise Towers. It's like Great Show in the Galaxy. That kind of thing. Slightly crazy, a little bit irrelevant, a little bit tongue in cheek. And
Yeah,
Graham's
that's-
up for it.
We missed the bit where Graham says he's already got his speedos packed earlier, which I thought was a really great line. But look at the production values on this. I don't know where they shot this, probably South Africa somewhere, but it looks so good.
I thought it was it Spain or Tenerife
maybe,
or somewhere like
yeah.
that? I don't know. Can't remember now.
So my sort of description for this episode is: you take Doctor Who, you take Aliens, you chuck in a bit of the Truman Show, and you mash it all together, and you get Orphan 55, which will all sort of make sense.
No
as
Die
we
Hard.
go on. No, this is not Die Hard.
I
in
don't know, mate. I
Doctor
think
Who.
this is a bit closer to Die Hard than Warriors of the Deep.
He takes the piss out of that, Al, because I described Warriors of the Deep as a bit like Die Hard for Doctor Who.
What?
Here we go. I know. This is what I've got to work with, Al. You know? Oh, it's Benny, my Benny.
Here's Benny.
I love these two.
So, Al, you may have seen some of the memes of these two. That's Benny in the hat, and is it Vilma or Wilma, the wife? And she spends
Vilma,
a lot of the
yeah, one of the
episodes saying Benny, Benny, and people always took the piss out of it. Someone even did a music video edit that
was
took
great.
a
I
Justin
loved it.
Timberlake song, and it was "I'm bringing Benny back" instead of "Sexy back."
There you go. This canteen scene is pure Dragonfire again. You know, this is Seventh Doctor vibe still.
See,
Yeah,
I don't. Sorry, the standout horror show for me is that costume. It just
Which one?
awful.
Which
The
costume?
Doctor's costume is just
Really, you don't like it?
no. It's just
Oh,
horror show.
What do you not
Absolute
like
horror
about it?
I don't know. It just in almost every scene it looks out of place. It doesn't look like she's comfortable in it, and it sort of feels a bit. This is going to sound really awful, but it feels a bit
Sounds
like
a bit
an
weird.
Amazon. It feels like an Amazon cosplay,
that does sound very weird, Al. Yeah,
which
you're right.
is not a nice thing to say, but
I
it's
think
just,
it's fine. I think it's a Doctor silhouette. We got a long coat, we got braces, we got a top, and we got 3/4 length culottes type things. 3/4 length trousers with boots.
Isn't it funny? Like, for me, I think her costume is the coolest looking Doctor outfit we ever had. You know,
what it is. I think it's because up until then, it sort of felt like the Doctor had moved away from that sort of costume that they turned up in every week, and then this was almost like a step back to the same costume every week. And it was a costume. It wasn't just clothing. Like
yes.
Matt Smith changed his jacket. He had the same silhouette, but they sort of changed. You know, Chris Eccleston, and I suppose it's no worse than 10th Doctor in reality, but it somehow just.
I think that's the thing when you look at it like that. I think, yeah, you could argue that the Ninth Doctor sort of broke the mold, which he did, but he still had a kind of a costume. It's still a bomber jacket and t-shirt.
Yeah.
I think the 10th Doctor again. Okay, he had a blue suit and he had a brown suit. Again, he always wore a tie, shirt, trousers, sneakers. You know, again, changed his. It was only the suit colour that changed, wasn't it? So that was fine. Peter Capaldi, I think.
Yeah.
I think the 12th Doctor actually went through quite a few different clothing changes, didn't he?
Yeah.
He'd have the hoodie, he'd have the suit, he'd have, variations, something that looked a bit Hartnell, Troughton, something that looked a bit Pertwee.
I think it would be nice to see some variations on it, which I'm sure will turn up further down the line if books and novels and audios and stuff get.
Well, it's interesting with the 15th Doctor that we've got so many costume variations. It's almost like it literally is like a different outfit in every story, pretty much, isn't it?
But what do you guys think on that? Because I've seen people online say Shooty's variety of costumes, outfits, is great for the variety, but it doesn't give him a single, a distinguishable Doctor look for them yet. Do you know what I mean? And like Capaldi, like you just said, Paul, he changed quite a lot. But I'd say each series he did, he had a fairly strong kind of overall look. You know, the tattered jumper and the hoodie and the jacket in his second series, and you know the more kind of tutory type look in his last series and stuff. Do you know what I mean? But what's your view on that, Al?
I okay, I'm caught on a fence on this one because I'm not actually able to comment on anything current Doctor Who.
Fair enough.
It gets out of that one, all right.
I'm pleading the fifth on that one. All I'll say is I would prefer the costume changes. I think it's very similar to the Tom Baker era where there was a new costume every
season or so,
or every story. So I've no issue with it. Certainly compared to this ensemble, I just think they could have done better by her. I just think they could. The costume lends to the gravitas of the character. When that Doctor walks in the room, I don't get the gravitas and I don't get the importance of the person. It's just something that doesn't resonate with me, and it didn't at the time. So it's not that I don't like it. I'm interested in what's going on here though, because we've got a sort of sunny Spanish hacienda going on up above, and we seem to have a rather
militaristic
base going on underneath.
Yeah.
It does seem to have shady overtones of the Capaldi. What was the Capaldi one with the smiling robots? It's got a little bit.
yeah. I think that
smile.
What happened there? Was he just dragged off by something nasty?
Yeah, so the base is under attack by something, and up until now they've been trying to keep it quiet. The Doctor's been kind of listening into the announcements that have been made, senses the danger, wonders why. Was it -3 was going into a linen cupboard, which obviously isn't a linen cupboard, it's this control centre.
Again, I'm going back to costume, but the sort of Alison Moyet circa 1981 it's a matter transporter with a rabbit isn't again, it's just the gravity. Oh wow, okay, here we go.
Do you know, was this the second or third time you said that word gravitas, which is quite interesting. I remember a lot of people sort of saying online that the 13th Doctor didn't have gravitas, at least in their opinion. But I'm not. I don't know. On the one hand, I don't think it's that important for the Doctor to have gravitas. I think they've got to have authority, but there are many different ways that can express itself and be represented. It doesn't necessarily have to be through gravitas, which is a little bit kind of sort of flaky, I think, anyway. But I think Jodie's Doctor is much brighter than a lot of the other Doctors. She's much more open to being compassionate. She might not quite be the most compassionate, but she wants to be. She's more kind of open to being part of a family, to being friendly, to just want to be everybody's friend. She's not always everybody's friend, but she tries and maybe tries a little bit too hard. And I think that's kind of reflected in her costume, which is, it's kind of open. Yeah, it's the Doctor's silhouette, so it's got the trench coat. And I think she had quite a hand in choosing the outfit for herself. I think her and Ray Holman worked together on defining the look and were kind of given pretty much clean license to sort of go with it, or at least to put some options together. And there's a lot of elemental kind of suggestion in the outfit, isn't there? There's a lot of earth and there's a lot of sky. There's a lot of colour, just to kind of express the Doctor as being part of the elements, that kind of make up the sort of breath of the world, if you like.
It feels like I'm maybe being a bit too harsh. I think it's the lack of change. I think I would have maybe liked to see it evolve a little bit, but I certainly her Doctor was always very positive, and I think.
That was one of the things for me that most drew me to her incarnation, and I love Capaldi, even with the darker tone to it. And so it was funny when Jodie came along. It was this kind of blast of freshness and kind of really kind of on the surface optimism and hope and everything and kind of joy. And I loved that, and so I think about it all sometimes, and we've watched like Sleep No More before, which is one of the Capaldi episodes, and Paul hated that episode, and I always say it's
hated.
good episode. It's a really good
Yeah.
episode, but it's so dark. So I
is
love
very dark.
Capaldi's stuff,
It's dark and
even
it's
though
nonsense.
it's dark. But Jodie, the hope and all the things that I just
Kind of
mentioned.
pulls you through it. I think that
Yeah.
optimistic character pulls you through these stories, and provides that kind of shining torch in all the darkness that goes on.
Just a personal thing, I never.
Oh, of course it. Yeah,
never
Yeah,
quite
no, that's
born
it,
to
yeah.
this incarnation, and yet, Joe Martin stepped out that police box, and I think within about 5 minutes, it just seemed to own that part
Yeah.
in a way that never happened with 13. So,
And
I
there's
think it is a personal choice.
yeah, I think so, and that's absolutely fine. And I think
I mean, the same issue to a degree with the Fifth Doctor, which is having Tom Baker.
yeah.
Doctor, as much as I watched it, but it's probably one of the ones I don't tend to go back and watch a huge amount. Partly, it just seemed a bit wishy-washy and indecisive compared. I kind of walked in and owned the room in about 2 seconds. So
Yeah.
And
It's
I
that,
think
authority, isn't it? Which I
Joe-
think it's gone. Yeah.
I was going to say Joe's Doctor is so consciously different to Jodie's here, and I think how you obviously like Tom's Doctor very much, and she's probably sort of leans a bit more towards that, and so I think your individual tastes, like you say, kind of make you lean towards different Doctors a bit more.
that's a good costume.
It's great,
Dregs,
isn't it? Yeah.
We're talking over these, aren't we? We're
Yeah.
just talking over the monster introduction.
No, the effects here are just
So
fabulous.
it's quite interesting that all
Even the
the
graphics. Look at the graphics.
Yeah,
on the
it's
screen.
always really nice.
That's
Yeah,
good.
you never see the dregs in shot with the actors on these location scene shots. So Ryan there and the girl, they see the dreg coming towards them, and it's
Bella.
horribly lit, Bella, but you don't see it in the same shot. So I wonder whether all the dreg shots were done back in
studio
Cardiff.
in some one location.
Yeah, and they weren't
Possibly.
ready, and they couldn't get him out here on time, or something like that. I think there's one. We do see it. It comes into this set later, doesn't it? And we see it in the canteen bit, which may well have been built back in Cardiff. Not that it kind of detracts, but it's kind of quite obviously not there. So Al, you scanned them, but you didn't make a figure of them, did you?
No, we actually did the 3D sculpt, but we didn't. That's from what I remember, but we didn't. No, we didn't ever release it as a figure. And we also scanned the Cyber Leader chap. That was.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Ash has. Yeah.
Mm.
Do you think they might see the light of day sometime?
You never know. Yeah. As we go further on, it's nice to do something from each Doctor's era if possible.
Yeah.
So I would say, what's going on here? What's going on here? Sorry, there's a wall in the middle of nowhere. With
There is a wall. Yeah.
So they've discovered that they're effectively, well, they are in a dome, and it's hologram walls and everything to make it look real. So this is why I mentioned
your-
the Truman Show
It's kind of
element. Yeah.
deactivated a part of it because there's a hole in it, isn't it, looking to
Yeah.
the outside. And now the Doctor's realised that the whole dome is on a world which is basically like kind of sort of a brown site development.
on-site,
It's
yeah.
a toxic place that
Yeah.
shouldn't really have anything like this on it because it's dangerous. But obviously, it allowed the people who own it to buy it cheap and sell it as a vacation
Yeah.
destination.
What did happen to Benny? He's missing.
He is missing. Yeah, we're going to find out soon.
Yeah.
I think.
He
So
has
now
that
he's
oxygen.
outside the dome, basically. That's
Yeah.
what they believe.
She's
We've
kind
gotta
of
go
playing
find him.
June Whitfield character. From
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please find my Benny. I love my Benny. I do.
It's all gone EastEnders, mate.
So she's
So
the girl who
now
owns
we-
the place, essentially.
yeah.
Kane.
So now we get to see a little bit of what's actually going on outside there. Yeah.
I think this story moves along at quite
Oh,
a
yeah.
pace, It's
What
probably
are
not the
those?
best way to enjoy it first time, actually, with us talking all over it. 'Cause
Yeah,
we
sorry,
can't
Al,
really
yeah.
focus on it, but there's a lot of camera movement, isn't there?
Yeah.
That sort of sideways, that spin around.
It's quite dynamic, and I'm wondering whether that's to compensate, because obviously up to date we've had quite a lot of corridor shots of empty
Yeah,
corridors.
yeah.
That are obviously all on one level, and I wonder if the action feeds along just to sort of compensate for the
I think you could well be right. Now.
Yeah.
It's just
Well,
it's just a technique, but
it makes standing around exposition dumps quite interesting.
A little bit more interesting.
Yeah, and I might.
Well, in the old days, they would just have a studio set up, wouldn't they? Three cameras pointing in the same place, and people not moving very much while they explain what was going on.
I
they
might
just
mention
make it different levels by putting a different sticky number on the wall and then shooting it. And,
Yeah.
two, and then number 3, and then number 4.
So this is the APC,
Aliens,
isn't it?
Yeah, this is from Aliens. Yeah.
So what are they
Yeah.
offering now? Because that is the APC. That looks like it's heading. I think
That's the Nest.
The source of.
They're trying to find Benny, so they've got a lock on his locator or something.
They think he's still alive.
Well, I think the Doctor kind of.
But the atmosphere is toxic.
Yeah.
Hence the little rebreathers.
Nuke the whole thing from orbit.
That's the only way to be sure.
Yeah. I can't remember if I've said this to you both before, but watching something like any of the Christopher McQuarrie Mission Impossible films, but particularly the most recent one, you get these really long dialogue scenes that are filled with exposition and information, and they're people just sitting and standing around, but every single line is shot with a very specific camera move, and this is doing it, that scene back in the canteen with all the swirling around is a much quicker, simpler way of giving that
achieving
movement.
the same effect.
Yeah, but if you watch Dead Reckoning and these scenes, like I'm still astonished at the amount of kind of planning that goes into doing all these individual moves and turns of reactions and the camera and stuff, and they must spend days filming
A
it.
lot of individual shots. Isn't it?
Yeah.
It is a lot of individual. Yeah,
This is pure aliens, though. I mean,
it is. Yeah.
It's a terraformed. It's a terraformed planetoid.
Yeah. It's like is it Hadley's Hope? It's
It's almost it definitely picks up some of the shots. There's a shot on the wheels at some point, which is just again that shot in Aliens, isn't it? When it just focuses on the wheels on fire or something as it's heading out of the atmosphere processor.
And they got the trackers there, motion trackers.
Yeah. Just back on that thing you were saying about keeping the camera moving and stuff like that. I mean, this is one of the things that kind of Steven Spielberg was a big fan of, wasn't he? It's how you look at Jaws. Jaws is a long film, and there's a lot of talking in Jaws. But he keeps the camera moving, all the time. I think that was what really sort of helped lift that film from
It's
to be what it is.
isn't it? There's not a lot of locked off shots there. They're all steady cam shots.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, this is probably one of the most static shots there is, and even that's kind of spinning, is it? The aerial shot there of the.
Yeah, you're right, Al. This is all, handheld or on a steady cam.
It sort of sells the idea of being in a vehicle, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's that classic war film thing, isn't it? If you shoot it all with steady cam, it immediately sort of kind of your brain translates it as they're moving. It's all a bit claustrophobic. It's all action
and you feel like you're in it.
Derived.
I can't remember where they filmed this. Is it like the Canary Islands or something? There's somewhere.
It is somewhere like that. I'm pretty sure.
All that kind of volcanic stuff. Because I did some work for Thomas Cook years ago, and the team went
How's he
out.
doing?
They were bankrupt now, I think.
Oh, no.
But
Old Thomas.
the team went out there. I didn't go because the project happened the week Ethan was due to be born. So I was like, there's no way I'm going on that. But they went to wherever this kind of volcanic stuff is.
It's in Tenerife.
That's it, yeah, Tenerife.
The Auditorio de Tenerife.
Yeah.
Which is that building, basically, commonly referred to as Auditorio de Tenerife. Designed by architect Santiago Calatrava, are located on the Avenue Constitution in the Canarian capital, next to the Atlantic Ocean, the southern part of Port of Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now, is that bus digital, or is it practical, or is it a model? Because I can't figure it out yet.
I think it's all of those.
Well, I don't
probably
think there's any grading work going on the ground and stuff out there other than to enhance it. Do you know what I mean? They're not turning sand grey or something. I don't know whether it's CG or not. It looked real when it was.
Because if it's not CG, it's a big old.
Yeah. But do you know the Aliens APC is just a what do you call
It's
it?
a miniature. I know. It's
No,
it's
some of it's
ridiculous.
real. It is a miniature in a lot of it, but some of it's real. But it's basically just a shell over a car. So,
Yeah.
I think it might have had some basic engine in it or something. But
Or it
you
might
know,
be on a
it's
gimbal or something, would it? I don't know.
yeah. I've got a book all about it, but yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
real.
I watch a YouTube thing about just
Mm.
special effects in movies, and that one came up. I don't know if any of you seen the new Alien film that came up.
Yes,
Yeah,
Romulus. Yeah.
yeah. So
I
I've seen
really
that.
enjoyed that.
Did you
I
like
mostly
it?
enjoyed it. Yeah, yeah. I thought it was all right until the last kind of sort of half an hour or so
See,
when it.
I didn't mind that. I must admit,
No.
everybody at work said the same thing, and they all
Yeah.
kind of gunned it for that last scene, saying, "Oh, didn't they learn from Alien 4?" Blah,
I
blah,
know.
blah.
Oh,
The
sure.
worst bit of Alien Resurrection, where the alien gets sucked out through a hole in the window,
And
they
when it gets
pretty much did the same
gets
thing. It's just
given
But it is
birth
not
to.
the whole film. That's the problem. I don't think they
Mm.
could. I don't think they could backpedal away from it, because the plot of the film is basically that they have been creating this hybrid.
yeah. But again, it's a plot that we've already seen in Alien, isn't it? We already had it in Resurrection. The aliens in that were kind of clones, weren't they? Because they were.
I thought it was better though.
Oh,
than it
definitely.
did.
Yeah, miles better. Miles
It
better.
looked like the more like the engineers, but with that horrible spindly arm.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Spoilers
I
for anyone who
felt
hasn't
that.
seen it.
Yeah, sorry.
But it's out. It's been out a while now, isn't it?
just
So
it just hit Disney this week or so.
Mm.
It's a shame that it didn't have more aliens in it. That's what I was disappointed about.
there's a lot of
The-
face huggers, wasn't there? We saw a lot of face huggers in
yeah,
it, skittering
that was
around.
fantastic.
that
and they
was
were
very smart.
animatronics and really
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I think there was a lot more practical effects in that
Yeah.
than we've had. There was still a bunch of CGI, but
Oh yes, there was a
think
lot
it was-
more in it than they
This is a
tried
good
to
shot,
claim
the
it had
drugs.
no CGI in it, but there
no,
was
they didn't.
just-
They just claimed it had a lot less, than a lot of other films.
Yeah,
They
have
didn't rely on CGI, is what they was claiming.
players stuff that they've been developing. These little.
There we go.
so
So
now
we're
it's
back in the APC.
yeah, and you can see them swarming on the thing.
Again, like you're saying, Jeff, it's like the motion tracker, isn't it, from Aliens?
Yeah,
I know casting against Pike, but having the guy from the In-Betweeners in there doesn't. For me, no. I just look at him and go, no.
Again, we had Ken Dodd in the great
Yeah, that was
Delta
yeah.
and Bannerman.
I kind of
I
half
think
expect
the,
it.
the greatest of all of these, and I'm now conflicted by it, is Beryl Reid as the captain.
Oh, the Earthshock. Yeah, yeah.
Still to this day, look on that with a mixture of horror and admiration.
You see, when that came out, I don't know, what was I, 10-ish? And I'd never really seen Beryl Reid. I think I had seen her in something that my mum and dad used to watch, like a sitcom or something occasionally. But I totally bought into the Earthshock thing. She is just the captain, of that. She is
See,
what she is.
This is a good example of three things that throw me out. So
Yeah.
the Doctor's costume is the least of our problems here, but the sort of half rabbit woman and the
You're not buying that.
It just throws me straight, especially because they've just given him green
Yeah.
hair and gone, oh, he's a bit different. He's old, and it's just awful.
Fortunately,
Does the character not work for you then? So if you look past that, can you get into the character?
I can't see. I just can't see past him being such a twat in the
Yeah. I'd love it if he was like, completed it, mate.
Oh, we're gonna have to get him on, aren't we?
Yeah. Do you know how much
Oh,
money?
no. Poor -3.
That's
Do you know how
CGI.
much money he's made from cameo voice messages?
Oh, probably
between
Oh,
us.
between us guy.
Yeah, literally, he's made millions on it. Fair play to him. If he, if
Yeah.
people want him to say briefcase wanker, and he'll record it for, why not? Good for him.
James Buckley, isn't it?
That's
his name.
it, James Butler. Yeah,
That's a great shot.
yeah it's really good.
Yeah,
Isn't
it
it?
is. Like you're on the moon or something.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's some odd choices in the like we got the half. What kind of half got the Colonial Marines there, haven't we?
yeah.
But again, you can imagine this being in the same sort of timeline as Earthshock, maybe. With Earthshock, where they got the guys
Yeah.
with the helmets, and they go down the caves and everything like that. And
It's
it's got
sort of-
that weird kind of 80s technology, big fat buttons
Yeah.
on it. Chick, 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 chick.
It's kind of throwing lots of, like you say, our, Colonial Marines kind of 80s type Who aliens with -3 and just sort of slightly silly sci-fi things with the green hair.
But again, that's
chucking it
Doctor
all
Who, isn't
together.
it?
Yeah,
You know,
quite,
that
yeah.
is classic Doctor Who. Was always good at that, particularly during the McCoy years. I think that's why I kind of get those vibes.
I think, I know Star Trek gets the, sticky forehead weak thing, but if you're going to do an alien, just give them pointed ears or a couple of tusks or...
Yeah, but these dregs are good.
Don't just spray his hair green and stick him in an orange spacesuit and try and... Oh, it just... Sorry, it's not... Sorry, I'm not buying that one for a minute.
No, that's a cross against. We'll let you have that one. But that's your only one.
I like her character. She's very
she's
good.
cool. Yeah. So no online exclusive for him then, is what you're saying.
Little green hair. Nevian Son.
I've done so many blogs this week with people saying, "Hey, you gonna do this?" And I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
A shitload of people. So it's like, I'm just going to say nothing anymore.
Exclusive from Character Options, Nevi and his son.
What I have said is we will do a atomized Adric.
Brilliant. Yes.
In packaging. So,
Just in a little urn.
a little blister
be?
card of nothing.
Build a figure. Now, this tunnel was used in Flatline, I believe, when
Oh, was it? Same tunnel.
Capaldi says, "I'm the one who
Those
stops the
look
monsters
familiar.
and stuff." And the lights they've got down the sides there, like you were saying, out everything about this. Look at that little bit of lens flare you've got there, and
You and your lens flare.
it's so atmospheric.
It is. It's good.
Now we're
And
obviously
these
back
close-up
in.
shots of the dregs are great.
Yeah, Flatline. Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
I really wanted to do. I really wanted to do the Boneless as a figure.
That could be fun.
I think we could have done it and actually almost got away with it. I sort of figured out a way to do it, and I think they would have been pretty cool.
What, to be like cracking and bending and stuff, and
Yeah, just it's that almost sort of like welded kind of weird thing that they got, where they were almost like sliced but then stacked
That's
up
right,
again.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
quite a distorted kind of.
On the packaging, you can have that, the flat one that's on the wall, and it doesn't look like anything until you sort of shift and look at it from the perspective.
Yeah.
that would
It's
have
just
been
lost
cool.
that
Yeah,
line of streaks, and it's like one of those optical illusions that shifts into place. This is great. The dregs are just so vicious and nasty and disgusting looking. I mean, it's all kind of racking up on it. There's threats from everywhere.
Yeah.
And to add to everything, they're running out of oxygen, aren't they? Or something?
Yes,
like
they
that?
are,
It's
yeah.
toxic.
This is interesting, but the whole sort of trek across the surface is almost unnecessary. It'd have been better if they'd cut straight to this, because this idea of them having to go deeper and deeper, and it's getting older and older, and you kind of grungier and grungier. This is cool. This is full on.
Getting down into the depths.
We're next level kind of. They're in trouble. They're in shit, and it's not going to go their way, kind of thing.
So they could have done that. You mean from the Tranquility Spa place? They could have just found an underground hatch
Oh,
and
they
just
just-
gone
yeah.
down.
I would have just.
But then we'd have lost the APC bit, and the vehicle and stuff.
And I was
I
just
like
going
that.
to say, you mentioned there how they're going down and things are getting older and older, and there's some cities in the world like Seattle where they've just built on top
Built
of
over.
the original city. Like I've been underground in Seattle and seen the old one there, but of course this planet is uninhabitable apart from the Tranquility Spa, so it wouldn't have had old stuff like that.
No,
yeah,
but this
you
is
could have.
an interesting thought, isn't it? Is it uninhabitable? No, but it wasn't before. Is this
Well.
from an older civilization, or are you going to tell me this is part?
Well, keep your eyes peeled right here.
keep your
Trying to
It's
stop.
fun. It's the first time. It's fun, isn't it, Paul? What's that?
What does that say?
It's Russian.
Oh, the hamster's out.
Oh,
Oh,
The hamster's out. He heard.
he looks away at the crucial moment.
He heard the break. What did it say? Sorry. What did?
it's Russian.
It's a Siberian underground station.
Sorry, I was distracted by the hamster. He's still alive, so that's.
That's good.
They've realised it's Earth.
Well, that can't be.
Rah!
Now, see, this is, you pulled that trope in the Sontaran experiment, and you pulled that trope in the oh god, the Colin Baker episode.
Trial of the Time Lord, Mysterious Planet.
Yeah, Mysterious Planet. And Lord Diminishing Returns says,
Can you do it again?
not surprising. Why not make it another planet that we've heard of that would be.
Oh, poor they gotta.
Oh, Vilma.
Yes, that's a fair point, but I suppose there's people watching this who won't have seen those, and so therefore it's new to them,
That is no excuse.
Well, plus, don't forget as well, there is a kind of environmental aspect to this as well, isn't there? Because that
this
kind
was
of
the season of
this is the one
messaging, wasn't it? With,
well, certainly this story was anyway.
Apraxis as well,
Praxis.
I was going to say, didn't we have the plastic growing out of your skin because you eat too many particulates? See, good effect.
Look at that light.
Good
That
scenery.
light through the air fan there is pure Cameron.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's pure
I'm
alien.
telling you, that is Ridley Scott before Cameron.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, one of them's better than the other.
And before that, I think Hitchcock did it as well.
Did he?
Actually. And
Such a cool thing. It's so simple.
See, I like details, but questionable detail. Who lit the fire?
No, it's cool. We don't ask who lit it.
Drags need to keep warm. Well, actually, it's it's green fire, isn't it? So it's not an oxygen fueled fire, or at least oxygen isn't the main gas used in it.
How on earth do you know that?
Because science and shit.
Oh, right. Did you know that
Green
now?
fire.
Yeah. So you mess around with the colour of flames as you put different chemicals in the fire, different gases and what have you, different temperatures.
What makes it go green?
I did not know that. Yeah, because you've got to find breathable air. now.
You see, that's a lifetime of throwing sweetie wrappers and things you shouldn't have thrown on fire. It tells you all
There you
this
go.
science.
Paul, did you used to take your deodorant can and a Bunsen burner and a lighter at school?
Why are you assuming that I had deodorant when I was a smelly
That's a
teenager?
good point, yeah. And you open the thing. Look at her, she gets right up to it there.
So this is weird, isn't it? So I'm not sure about this one, but nonetheless. So the dregs breathe out or exhale oxygen, right? So I think it's kind of the reverse. They inhale carbon dioxide and methane and all greenhouse gases and exhale oxygen. And that's how the Doctor manages to keep the oxygen going. It was a little mind meld.
Well, that is
That little legs going.
Yeah.
That's fun.
that's quite threatening.
I think blaster effects there.
That's the first time I've seen any sort of physical violence like that against the Doctor, and it helps build the case to a degree, to sort of convince. So I was quite impressed by that.
Yeah, it's a good point. You don't see the
it's true.
creatures touch
There
them.
was always one of the questions with Tom Baker used to get. I know they've moved away from violence, but Tom Baker used to get backhanded and punched and kicked, and all the doctors at
Oh yeah, especially in Seeds of Doom, he used to give it as well, didn't he?
physically assaulted. And although they've sort of moved away from it, that was one of the questions with her was always, would they ever show somebody striking a and like I
Female
say, that
doctor.
helps build the case when you
Yeah, I don't think they ever shied away from it at all. I think Jodie was as up for that as much as anyone.
Now this is classic base under siege now, isn't it?
Yeah, we're in familiar territory here, I think. But with some really good camera moves.
Yeah.
How
How
it's
good does
so-
it look with all the
it's-
fire and the
Yeah, it's so cinematic. It's so filmic. It's
yeah.
made in China. I love that. So, this is written by Ed Hymes, isn't it? Who wrote It Takes You Away from the previous series, which is probably my favourite story out of all of season 11.
Have you seen that one, Al?
But it's a very different kind of vibe.
Yeah.
which one?
It Takes You Away. Starts out as like
Kind of Scandi noir sort
Yeah.
of thing.
I have, but I'd forgotten it. It took me away and then brought me back quite quickly.
I think we need to do more work on him.
yeah. No, you're right. That
It's not a
shot
great
there, and there
shot.
was one earlier like that, which is CGI. But look at the pink gums and everything there, and God,
This
even
is
though
pure
it's
Blade Runner 2049 here. This
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that shot looking down at the dome.
the danger here is that we end up and this just turns out to be a massive runaround. But
Again, it's part of Doctor Who, though, isn't it? It's part of Doctor Who's DNA. You know, corridors, runarounds, little
it
twists,
doesn't-
strange aliens with green hair.
he ends up being smarter than his dad.
Kid ends up being smarter than his dad. Always was.
Yeah.
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 Silas,
You,
that's his name, isn't it?
One of my favourite lines was in this episode earlier. I think we missed it. It's when the Doctor says about humans. Give her half an hour, 3 crowns, and half a can of spam, and she could build humans. Yes. And in
Fix
this,
the teleport, Navi. What's the
Those
point of an
lights.
engineer who doesn't know how to be an engineer? You know?
Yeah,
But this
East
is also
Coast-
like typical engineer stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of them just give you excuses to why something can't be done, rather than actually working for a solution.
yeah. This set here with these light tubes flashing as well. They've used them in other episodes with Jodie, and I've used them filming before. There, those things up there. They may not be the same ones, but they're called Astera light tubes.
Well, they look
And
kind
you-
of cool.
you
With their
can
lightsaber type stuff.
Yeah, you can program different colours and patterns and things like that to them.
it
Fantastic.
feels like those fractured panels turned up.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
They probably didn't, but it feels like they did. Like I feel like I saw them in the Flux episodes.
In which bits now on the screen?
No, you know those fractured, got like that fractured wood door panel or screen panel.
Oh yeah,
that, and it looks like it's.
they may well have reused stuff. Yeah, I remember. Did you ever watch Firefly? You ever see that show?
Yes.
I watched
And,
a few of those. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't last long, but it was really good. And then I remember watching the final series of Angel, which went out after that, and I was like, I recognise that display in the meeting room or
right.
something, and it was part of the Firefly set. When Firefly was finished, they dismantled it and reused things elsewhere.
And sold it off. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's Joss Whedon, both of those things, wasn't it?
yeah. Yeah, what did I see?
I quite
Something
like
else.
Firefly, actually. I thought it had a lot going for it, but the
It
thing
did,
that
yeah.
annoyed me about it was that it was all very kind of like cowboy western style, and it was
No,
like,
well, that was the
that
whole-
put me off a lot. Really, I just couldn't go on with it. And
It's
I
good.
think
Did you?
I think by the time it came out, we'd all, we were getting things like Babylon 5 and what have you, which was just a different level completely.
Did you see the film?
Yeah, Serenity.
film,
Yeah, film
It's
was
great.
better, I thought. Yeah. There's a lot
Yeah.
more what I think it was
So
proper
what's
sci-fi.
going on here? So the dregs are the mutated humans that were left. I assume.
Yes. Yeah, and they're not good with pure oxygen, hence they're getting blasted up with fire extinguishers, I believe. It just knocks them out for a little while, doesn't it?
Yeah.
She's
This is
found
the leader.
the dreg leader.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Navi and Sun have to fix the teleport, don't they? So they can get everybody off world.
So the idea is that they're almost terraforming the world themselves because they're breathing in the carbon monoxide and they're breathing
Yeah.
in and.
But for that to make any sort of difference, I guess there'd have to be a lot more of them, wouldn't there, really?
Yeah.
So it's at the moment it's in that kind of balance where it just works in favour of the dregs, but not in favour of anyone else. And there's a big bomb about to go off, isn't there?
Yes, because Bella is
She's the daughter of the owner, Kane.
yeah.
Oh, is this the old? If it all goes wrong, blow it up, and then no routine.
Well, she initially had her own agenda, didn't she? She was getting off, something into her mum
Yeah.
because they had a slightly strange relationship.
So this dreg leader is not as dumb as you might think. They need each other, don't they?
Stalking the
Yeah. Look at the red light on it, and
Yeah, it's pretty good. Stalking
Yeah.
the cage. And it's interesting with the creature outside the cage, because normally you see these shots, the creature's inside,
Yeah.
sort of, looking like it's going to pounce out. But it's kind of an inversion of that with the Doctor and Bella inside the cage.
I like the way its teeth bit, they seem to sort of move out a bit when it opens its mouth. It's a bit like the alien,
They
but also like.
protrude.
Have you ever seen the goblin?
Yeah, I keep waiting for that inner
shot?
jaw to come out,
Yeah, yeah.
to snap out. Like a stapler. I always just think that was like a stapler in the in the middle of the
Yeah,
alien's
yeah.
jaw.
I wonder if that's what Geiger was
Yeah.
thinking.
just hold it there, would you?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well,
Snap,
I
snap,
mean,
snap.
it's not a bad costume. It's got elements of the kind of like the Jeff Goldblum fly thing about it. Going
Yeah, I never thought that actually. Yeah.
Those hip sort of extensions.
Yeah, it's very kind of. You look at all the muscle bits on it and the
Sinewy
and
and stretchy
yeah.
things.
Wonder who's playing it in there.
Spencer Wilding, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's him, who is a Welsh actor and special creature performer from Denbighshire in North Wales, which is not far away from where I was at Christmas, actually. He's had some success as a professional kickboxer and a professional cruiserweight boxer. He was trained by a former 3-time world champion something or other.
Yeah, he's pretty good with the. I like the physicality of all the monster performers they get on the show.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah. He's got his magic dust, the ceruleum, whatever it is that he needed.
Ooh, nice CGI explosion there. So we always do this on commentaries. We all go quiet.
Yeah,
'cause
there's
we
always
end
a
up
point where we go quiet 'cause we're just
ripped.
watching it.
So
The
I'd love
green
to know
wigs.
how many. I'd
You
love
got
to
me
know.
thinking about the green wigs there now, Al.
I wonder how many
Sorry,
dregs they actually had there. Because they don't look CG.
it's a good point,
It must
actually.
be a bit of a masking shot or something.
Yeah, I don't know, actually.
Yeah, I bet that animatronic head was pretty cool, wasn't it, Al? Seeing that.
I mean, I remember seeing it, thinking at the time they were pretty astounding. We got some. I think we got some. God, no, we did get some. I think we got some reference. I think they put one person in costume for us. I think.
Oh, really?
Really?
But the other costumes were there. Maybe I could be just imagining that because it was the same day that we did the scan of the Ashad Cyberman as well.
Oh, so it must have been a few years after this one came out then, because the Shad didn't turn up till end of.
Following series, wasn't it? 13.
Oh, no, it was. No, it was
Series
this series.
five. Oh, it
wasn't
was
it?
this series.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Sorry,
Five episodes more.
I was
Yeah,
thinking
because he walked off set and came in to get scanned.
Right. Okay. Wow.
I mean, that's a good episode. I think that is probably my favourite episode of the series, The Haunting of Villa Diodati.
Yeah.
It's an absolutely
This is quite interesting.
clencher.
So they're all now kind of a bit devastated knowing that the Earth is.
Up shit creek.
Yeah.
She can't
Yeah,
change
the
anything.
only the only slight issues we've got are, as I say, a sort of potential conflict with the solar flares of the arc in space and the sort of Mars experiment, and then
Yeah. But
You
we've
know.
also got 3 different versions of Atlantis that don't quite reconcile either, so,
possible planet on there.
I don't worry about these things too much.
And then, as I've always said, the weird thing is that Villa Diodati,
Yeah.
where she meets
Ashad,
Mary Shelley.
Mary Shelley.
Who
Yeah.
who the Eighth Doctor travelled with for a while.
Except the Eighth Doctor had already met Mary Shelley,
Yeah.
so it's slightly. That's just bad housekeeping, I think, to a degree.
Rah!
Yeah.
Final shot. There you
That
go.
was interesting. That was interesting. That wasn't a particularly happy ending. They're all a bit
No.
devastated and kind of escape with their lives, and the Doctor's almost. So I see what you're getting there. The Doctor's the one at the end who's sort of saying, "Look, it's not all bad. It might not. It's only one possible.
It's down to you guys, basically.
Yeah.
You
It
know,
might not all
us, the
turn to
viewer,
plan,"
to change it.
which is the environmental.
Yeah, a lot of people sort of didn't like that, but you know, I think
I think it would have been more convincing, given the special effects budget, to have had. Like, if you're going to say it's the Russian underground station, and they're running around on the surface, and there's dead pine trees, that's not as convincing as having the remains of the Kremlin and a few skyscrapers crumbling in the distance. It convince like it's maybe not quite joined up dots wise for me. I think if you're going to sell the Dead Earth routine, like I say, you can't just stick a few pine cones, pine trees, you know, in the background and kind of go, oh, it's Dead Earth, and look, here's a sign, because that's been done more effectively. I think if it's a Dead Earth, they should have walked out of that dome and been like, holy crap, and there's the
it would have
Kremlin, and there's the
it would have the visual impacts, wouldn't it? You know, it's almost like kind of End of the Planet of the Apes. You mean?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And they see the statue,
which is why I say that whole kind of trundle across the surface bit was a bit preambulatory and pointless, because if they'd gone out the dome and just had a nice matte shot where it sold you that whole, this is the world and it's all gone to shit, and you suddenly go, oh crap, and then they go down on the beach and they go through all the tunnels, and they have sort of the chase through the tunnels. That was actually more atmospheric, arguably, that happened on the surface. So I mean, it's different ways of doing it, but
yeah, it's always quite interesting, you know, how could you, you know, do the story differently, you know, and like you're saying, you could have come out, realised this is Earth, and then been swarmed by dregs, and then be kind of chased across to, you know, the planet.
Yeah, and it's pure, it's pure the time machine. It's the Morlocks coming out of the sort of tunnels, and suddenly everybody's like, oh shit, and it becomes a lot more of these things living in the ruins coming out and at you. I mean, it's every zombie flick ever done, but you know, you're in that territory anyway. So it's well, you see.
I don't know. So I see. For me, when I see things like that, that kind of turns me off, because I'm like, well, we've seen this before hundreds of times. You know, if it had been the equivalent of the Statue of Liberty coming out the beach, that would have probably been like, you know what I mean? It's like we've done that. Whereas I think actually doing the Siberian station, exactly. It's just a different way. But for me, it's like, you know, because it's not so obvious, because it is a little bit kind of lower down. You have to work maybe slightly harder at it. You know, it's maybe not for that kind of audience, perhaps, but. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How we sort of pick up on these things and have different responses to it.
When you've seen it done a couple of times, arguably.
But yeah, you're right. You know, there's a lot to be said for using visual shorthand to tell the story. It's like, you know, 'cause we don't want to spend too much time in this, and we want the impact, the cinematic punch in the gut kind of impact that maybe you don't get if you see just a little bit of Russian writing, because it's not immediately obvious. So you potentially. Yeah, you know, I get it, but I guess it's just the choices you make when you're telling a story, making a movie, TV series, or whatever it is, isn't it?
They've gone so aliens. I wonder whether you just make a colony planet that was perfectly fine, and suddenly everybody in contact with it, and you know, because you're essentially riffing off. I mean, we could have. There's probably half a dozen.
Yeah, but I think the aliens parts of it, or the bits that were more obviously aliens, are more directorial choices than story choices. You can imagine it on a script, it's probably the basic that you need to know, but in directing it, you know, they decide on those particular shots because they're reminiscent perhaps of aliens, or you know what I mean. It's just it's all kinds of different sci-fi stuff sort of going in there, like you were saying, you know, bits of Terminator and bits of you know, what's his name, Ridley Scott and James Cameron and Steven Spielberg, and all sorts of things going on. And it's a real hodgepodge of something, but I think it has its own identity nonetheless. You know, one thing I'd never noticed, actually, I mean, I've seen this a lot of times. One thing I hadn't really noticed, it's something we were talking about, was exactly how much Steadicam there is. There's a lot. You know what I mean? There's a few locked off shots, very very few, but the majority of it is seemingly all handheld. Certainly in the second half.
Yeah, as it gets going. Yeah,
it helps with the sort of feeding the action stroke paranoia as well, especially when you're in dark tunnels. You suddenly are a little bit more invested. Threat levels didn't feel like there was huge threat levels. Funnily enough, one of the letdowns for me was the guy being dragged backwards down the corridor at the beginning. Cause I kind of felt like, yeah, it was kind of like you could have. I don't know. I wanted a bit more, something a bit more horrific in a way. I wanted
what you mean? So his disemboweled corpse being ripped into two and thrown at the walls.
Maybe a bit more sort of drag me to hell with him. Holding the floor and he's gripping on and like, help me, and, you know,
his fingers get left.
It's like, right, pull, boys.
If we saw an alien hand or something just coming out of shot,
like he's wearing a nice dress shirt and he could have been getting pulled back to his room by his girlfriend.
Do you know, it's quite interesting. I think there are a lot of places like that where, you know, because this is Doctor Who, right? And Doctor Who has always had a good tradition for those sort of jump scares, you know, and the creeping horror and the reveals of the monster. And I think actually there's a lot less of them in this era, you know, in the 13th Doctor stories than perhaps there have been before and after. You know, it's almost like, you know, they didn't worry too much about that side of things. It was a different, I don't know, it's, you know, just maybe they forgot about those kind of things, but they didn't seem to be as much of them until we got to Flux. I think actually Flux is very different, but
Flux, I would say, and certainly as somebody who didn't enjoy the era particularly, I'd say it was where it hit its stride. Albeit that the story is all over the flipping shop. I think Flux is an absolute mess of a story, but visually and in terms of everything else, it 100%. 100% was wrong. I think lots of pluses. Not you know, I think pluses are the Steadicam stuff, the alien shot.
Yeah.
The costumes were good, with the exception of the purple. But the bunny lady in the purple hair, just awful.
Not like that's the downside on this. Yeah, that's a strike against.
The dregs were, I would say, pretty. As a costume, I think they were pretty effective. And like I say, having seen them close up, they were
pretty good. Yeah. Okay, so a few pluses there. I think, Joe, a few positives.
What I'm taking away from this is that you didn't hate it and you'd quite like to watch more. And
that's exactly what I heard as well.
Completely. There's no. So because my sound was off, you guys can fill me in. There's no TARDIS in this, or there was no. Right
just at the start,
we didn't see it, so we can only assume they didn't want to pay for it to go on the plane to Lanzarote.
Yes,
so
they get teleported there, by the little ticket coupon thing that Graham gets. Yeah. So I'm going to read some comments from people over on Blue Sky, and I've got Twitter as well. And Paul, you've got some Facebook, and we've got a voice note as well. So Very Pete Lambert on Blue Sky says, that evening in 2019 is etched on my mind forever. I loved it, laughed with it, gleefully clung to its runaway train ride of a plot, and then looked at Twitter. Turns out that was not the consensus. It's easily my most rewatched 21st Century episode.
Hey.
And then Ian Clark says, this has a funny, warm opening with lots of underrated gags and character bits. The location filming is stunning, but the tonal shift to grimdark in the second half is a little bit jarring for me, and it doesn't stick the landing.
That I would agree with, and I think I would agree that the tonal jump between the top, you know, the Lanzarote resort and the tunnels of doom it doesn't evolve particularly well, but I think, and I would agree with sticking the landing, because it just kind of it fizzled out, or it seemed to fizzle out with not a lot of purpose towards the end, and it became more of a kind of moral Disney sort of like, and this is what will happen if you don't look after the planet. Anyway, sorry, but go on. More comments.
Supreme Human says, I've seen it on many a rewatch.
Rewatch. Super.
Man, the episode is nowhere near the worst ever when Kill the Moon, which I quite like, Forest of the Night, or Fear Her is in the world.
Oh dear, everyone's got their favourites, and they're most
has-
hated, haven't they?
I'm kind of with him on Kill the Moon. As much as I love the Capaldi story, that was horrific.
Let's not get started on that one. We've got a whole another
had
hour.
But that's the thing. It had some great stuff in it, like the spiders up on the moon and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
then
I didn't like the spiders either.
Turns
Yeah.
into that giant space bat. That was just like.
That was another moral thing as well, wasn't it? Anyway, back with the comments.
Here for Jodie says, very enjoyable story, has a real Third Doctor vibe to it, which I love. The Doctor's speech to the fam at the end has echoes of Pertwee in Invasion of the Dinosaurs. I don't recall any outrage over that, with a winking face. Daniel Rawnsley says, I missed Series 12 on broadcast, so I spent weeks and months dreading it. Turns out received fan wisdom was wrong, and I had an absolute blast. It's really fun. Lots of eccentric choices, but it moves at a fast and furious pace that rarely lets up, and is full of laughs. Graham and Ryan are particular standouts. And then
He brought his character, I think, was the controversial opinion of the week. I always bring one, but great Graham, I think, was the absolute linchpin of that series.
Yeah.
I think without Bradley
Totally agree.
without Bradley Walsh's kind of grounding effect, I think I would have disliked it even more. But he does help kind of bring the. He does it so well, that kind of like, what the hell's going on here?
That's it. He really
to it.
puts like we would all be in that situation as a companion. Daniel also said the widespread notion that this is the worst Doctor Who ever is absolutely mad. Yes, the environmental message is subtle as a brick, but that's the point. Notice how Jodie's grave warning speech literally ends mid-sentence, followed by a hard cut to the dregs. And he says, and the many instances of Vilma turning "Has anyone seen my Benny?" into an internet meme are absolute gold. But the laughs kind of stick in your throat afterwards when you consider what happens to both characters. Clever stuff from Ed Hine there.
Sticky end.
Mimikyu says, I love season 12, one of my favourite seasons, but Orphan 55, I'm really sorry, I find this episode boring. The side characters are at best annoying or detestable, and I find the moral of the story not well told. Sorry, it's the worst episode of Jodie for me.
That's fine.
I hope you're picking on the purple-haired boy and Squirrel, by the way. The rest of them I have no issue with.
And then Mr. Little says, I like this episode, but I find the ending a bit odd. The Doctor says that the timeline is just one possibility. Since when does the TARDIS land in alternate timelines? Sometimes the Doctor is responsible. Well, I suppose it's a possibility if we don't look after things. Then it could end up like that.
He makes a good point, though, which is the TARDIS follows established linear time, and we know that they've said there are fixed points. But if the TARDIS has, that history in theory can't change, because if they go back somewhere else or they go to the future and the Earth is not that big crappy pile of rubble, then their own personal history has been changed, and that never happened. So it's a good point that they're making, which is. It kind of is.
Wherever the TARDIS lands, it's kind of established rather than a possibility. But then saying that, there are a few instances where the Doctor says the future hasn't happened yet, and we also do get those because we get
the Sutek one is the obvious.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
It's where he kind of says, Sutek's been released. She says, "I'm from 1984." He fast forward, opens the door. Dire consequences, howling time winds, and shit. And he goes, "This is 1984. Do you want to go off?" So yeah, there are exceptions, but I would argue that point is very valid.
It's a good point. Yeah. But I've got to say, with Doctor Who, it's not one that I'm particularly worried about.
Yeah.
Because there's so much of it that contradicts itself in so many different ways. As we said before, it's not one of those shows that has a Bible and you have to stick to it. It's all kind of made up as you go along, and I think it's only really in the recent history that real attempts are kind of been made to stick it all together.
It is, but you're moralizing to three people that, but in reality, would have an insignificant impact on that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I do. Yeah.
If if one of those was, the head of a giant corporation that was going to be responsible for Earth turning into a big pile of crap, I could understand that there's a reason, because you're doing a Last Christmas or whatever the episode was, where he's changing the future by saying, here's what's going to happen if you don't sort yourselves out. But turning to the TARDIS crew and sort of going, well, this is what's going to happen if Earth isn't looked after. And it's like, which of them is going to be responsible for that? None of them.
Okay. I get where you come from. I think it might be worth watching that scene again, though, because I don't think it's quite a straight cut as that. It's, for me, when you look at it, it's a conversation they're having. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not a preachy thing. It's a conversation they're having. Yaz is really cut up about it, and the Doctor say, look, this might not actually happen. If things can still change. That's the way that I sort of read it.
Is conciliatory. Is that the right word?
Possibly, yeah. Possibly, yeah.
Kind of like, I'm just showing you that everything goes to crap, but it might not happen. Might.
Anyway, okay, fair enough. Right, go on in. Who's next? We've got more comments.
Yeah, I've got Paul Burley here. He says, it was great. Reminded me of a typical classic Who yarn. Felt very McCoy era, which is my era, so I'm fine with that.
I would say, yeah.
Key takeaway, based on most of the reactions I saw at the time, the closing lecture was a bit heavy-handed, and people really didn't like that.
Now, that's an interesting point, because there is a point your finger time. There is an element of Inferno to this, which would have been a slightly more interesting tack to take, where the TARDIS does get bumped into an alternate timeline, and essentially they
see what happens and then have the opportunity to fix it.
Then they can escape back to reality. It's the Cybermen episode, back in 2006 all over again. But that this is the alternate Earth where everything's gone to shit. They just get out and everybody dies. That would have been an interesting take on it. But just doing the sort of Disney moralizing bit at the end didn't. Yeah, I agree.
I think. Yeah, I will accept your Inferno point, and I do like the idea of that, because I think that's a top story anyway, and it works in that. However, I think, given the magnitude of the current climate crisis that actually is in this Earth rather than an alternative Earth, it's worth not treating in that sort. It's worth giving it the sort of respect and the impact it kind of deserves, I think.
It was, but again, they weren't explicitly clear what caused that future Earth to happen. They didn't, she mind melded with the dragon.
She mind melded, saw a lot of bad decisions leading to war, apocalypse, global starvation, all the above.
But you didn't kind of see. You didn't see anything to do with pollution, did you? You didn't see.
But the end result is pollution, isn't it? That's the thing. The end result is that the atmosphere of this planet is inhospitable to human life as we know it. So humanity has had to kind of evolve or devolve even into something like the dregs, which for Yaz is just horrifying. She just doesn't like that at all. If you think, if that is the future, if everything we're working towards, all the art and culture and science and all the innovations and all the, all the wonderful things that happen in the world, they're ultimately leading towards a desolate, toxic landscape where humanity's devolved into, H.G. Wells's Morlocks, then
I agree.
What's the point of it all? It's a depressing thing, isn't it?
I do agree, but there's better ways to do it. Show some melting ice caps, show some seas of plastic, show some hideous pollution, show oil tankers, show all the stuff that's going to cause all that.
Just choices, perhaps,
rather than a nuclear weapon, because it's like that doesn't say. That just basically goes, you're going to blow yourselves up.
Yeah, which could happen as well.
Well, yeah, who knows what will happen next week. Right, I'm going to plough through a couple here quickly. Eleanor... No, it's all good, Eleanor Jody says, just watched on the weekend with a friend. We both love it. It's another one of those that grow on me more with each viewing. I mean, at the most basic level, scary monsters and loads of running, which, is kind of Doctor Who, really, isn't it? So, I kind of quite like that. So, over on Twitter... Let's go. Bertie Odell says this is a great episode, unfairly maligned, with great designs like the dregs, and just a great fun traditional sci-fi romp with an important message at its core. Also, can I say a massive thanks to Al for everything he and character do figure-wise. 20 years, I love every release. So just thought I'd throw that in there.
I don't know what he's talking about. Man is delusional with it.
James Matthews says, absolutely love it. A great callback to the mysterious planet, comedy style of the Happiness Patrol, and a genuinely strong message brilliantly put across as a second act twist. And then I just love the difference that people see in things. Nate says, absolutely incredible. The set design is fabulous, tension is great, acting's amazing, and the twist incredible. 10 out of 10, no notes. Herald of Creation, I don't get the hate for this one. It starts off looking like it's going to be a comedy episode with the guy with green hair, Graham in his Speedos, and a dog person, but it rapidly breaks into an alien tribute band. Love it. It's still messy from a script point of view, but my biggest gripe is reserved for bad science on a planet that is meant to have very low oxygen in the atmosphere. Why are there so many fires burning? I'm going to hand that one to you, Paul.
They don't burn on oxygen. That's it, really. Or,
Rob, the Rubbish Time Lord, says, I quite enjoyed this story. It's got very interesting characters. It demonstrates what could happen to Earth in the future, which reminded me of some of the political and climate messages in the Pertwee era. And now, Paul, we've got a voice note, haven't we, from...
we do, yes, from Jim Wolfe.
Jimmy Wolfe,
Should we play that? All right,
yes,
here we go.
Please.
Let's hear what Jim has to say.
So, personally, I'm not a fan of the episode, but in part, I have to say, that is because it had the potential to be such a great one with such a small change, and that would have been the dregs themselves, that we never should have actually seen them.
Ooh,
so when we first
interesting.
see them, it's very like the Xenomorph in Alien. They're hidden, they're shadowed. We never get a good look at them. And so the idea that they're meant to be sort of future mutated humans, it gives that sense of worry as to what are we going to become? What is the future going to be like? But then when you see them on screen, as great as the costumes are, they're just a bit. You didn't need to see them. They're more frightening. It takes away all of the scare of them if you actually see them. But also, I think it's Can You Hear Me? Later on, Ryan has a nightmare about one of the dregs. And if it was me, hide them in Orphan 55, just show them in sort of shadows and things like that. But then, the very first time the audience should have seen them should have been in Ryan's nightmare, because that would have had so much more impact on them as a sort of monster for the show. And I think just that one tiny little thing, to change that would have genuinely made Orphan 55 one of my probably all-time favourite episodes.
Interesting.
That's very
I like
interesting,
that.
yeah.
Thanks for that, Jim. Interesting.
I agree. I think that's an interesting point. I agree with him up to a point, and I think it's right. He's right that it's a law of diminishing return, and it's the same with Alien Romulus. You've seen them so many times, and then the more you know any bad character, the less impact they have. So I do agree. You start with one, and then by the end of it, they're kind of, you see groups of them. I suspect if they didn't show the creature, the story wouldn't have stood up quite as well. Unfortunately, I don't think it's strong enough at its heart.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting idea to
that if it didn't have creatures in there, I don't think it's
I think Doctor Who needs its monsters. You need to see them, and I think Jim's right. The fact we see them in build up, so we see a silhouette through a smoky kind of shadow kind of thing, and bit by bit they're sort of built up and then revealed for that final act of the story. I think is kind of standard Doctor Who and should never be tampered with, or if it is going to be tampered with, needs to be exceptionally good. You know what I mean? It's got to, fine for it to be experimental and everything, but it's got to be really, really good. And I mean, for me, I love Orphan 55. It's not my favourite story. My favourite story this season is Villa Diodati, but I still enjoy it a lot. And I do think it's bad. It's been it was badly maligned online when it went out. You know, there was some there's some basic things to kind of pin up your hate on. I think the messaging, yeah, okay, I can see why people think that. I don't agree, but I get it. But I think everything else is sort of, I don't know. It's we can always, like, in hindsight, say an episode would maybe be better if it was like this, or if they'd done that, if they'd taken this choice, and you know, you can kind of apply that to any story, really, not just Doctor Who throughout the ages. But at the end of the day, I think it's what each of us personally just enjoys watching, and that we personally kind of resonate with on that sort of level.
I agree, and I think as a first-time watcher, I do get why it probably didn't resonate. It does seem very derivative of a number of fairly well-established genres, and I suspect that is what brought it front and centre in front of the gun sites, because...
well, also, I remember that, sorry to interrupt, the BBC America site, on the week it was coming out, they trailered it like, this is a cliffhanger ending you do not want to miss. And they really hyped it up. And, you know, fans being what they are, they were like, oh my God, Rose is back, River's back, you know.
Susan Foreman's back.
Yeah, and it was all going off like that. And then, of course, you know, it wasn't really a cliffhanger ending or, you know, a shocker of any kind of major, you know, thing. And people had sort of worked themselves into a frenzy about it.
Bit of a funk.
Yeah, they were like, oh, it wasn't that. I think, you know, you said there, Alan, it was derivative of various other things, but then
I think it is. Yeah,
but I'm sitting here, and this is probably me being a bit simple. I'm like, oh yes, it's aliens blended with Doctor Who. What's not?
I like that. Yeah. With the Truman Show, as you said earlier.
And that's what I mean. I think for a lot of people, a lot of the comments are sort of saying, you know, it was kind of unfairly got at. I suspect that it was unfairly got at because it was of a whole bunch of things, and people were possibly expecting something. There is. It just occurred to me there is, you know, I always think there's certain points in the series, and I think people are universally afraid of doing it. But I think this is controversial.
It's worrying me now. What's it going to say?
I actually think losing key people in series isn't necessarily a bad thing. And the death rate in this was quite high, and the emotional gut punch could have been that you lose a, you know, Adric-esque, you lose a fundamental TARDIS crew member, because I think that always gives that kind of like...
I don't know.
You know, there's always I think, you know, space is dangerous. Space is dangerous, Tom. I mean, I thought they did it well with Capaldi, with the build thing. You know, you kind of assume everyone's going to get out the other end of the mincer, and they're not going to.
Yeah, well, Bill got minced properly, didn't she? Greatly holding her stomach, and I think managed to stand up for quite a while.
13 says something like, you know, I got you home all. I got you all home safe. I think, did she say that, the power of the Doctor, or some point? You know, so it was kind of a point of it, but. Yeah, you know, to have, maybe if there was a, you know, villain that recurred, you know, a bit like Missy did, and across those episodes, and then they did something like that to the companion, you know, it really kind of establishes their threat. You know, that would be a way to do it.
Because again, they're all standalone, these episodes, aren't they?
Well, that's the thing. So you'd have to. Well, it could have been like in Flux, maybe. You know, one of the Ravagers killed Dan or something. You know, and then you'd go, oh God, you know, these guys aren't messing around.
But again, it's like, you know, in the Stephen Moffat years, a companion used to die pretty much every week. Then they then would come back again. So I think.
Yeah,
You know, I think you're right, because
surprise,
when Adric died in it, you know, it was a hell of a shock. I was quite traumatized by that, but it didn't happen again for a long time afterwards.
Yeah.
But because it had then happened so often, I think it's just you know, it's either a cheap trick or it just becoming desensitized to it. And then it happened again in Boom. You know, Ruby dies and is brought back again, or she's very close to death at least.
Yes.
And magic click of the fingers and she's back. So I think yes and no. Yes, it can be a really powerful thing, but again, it's, you know, it's got to be done right in the right way, whatever that is. You know, it's not just for effect. So let's just finish off with a couple of Facebook posts, comments from Crystal Holmes, who says, I love it, has such a classic feel like much of her era, to which Eleanor Jodie Alashowski has replied, absolutely, I get a big Third Doctor vibe from it, which is always a good thing. Philip Cregan says, it's okay, weak by Jodie standards. Then adds something else regarding the current era, which I won't repeat. And then says, and then Brad Wolf we get, who just says simply, fun. Alex, I said fun. It could just be fun. I don't know, but I'm taking it as fun. So there you go. Good old Facebook, eh? Anyways, that's all cool. It's a bit of a mixed bag, I think. I think mostly positive, and I think, it is one of those stories which I think some people are going to have quite strong opinions about because of certain things in it, which is, fair enough. But yeah, for me, I think it's mostly positive, actually. Yeah, it's a good.
I'd just like to say as well, thanks to everyone for the comments and things.
Yes,
We've actually had
thank you.
A great response here, which I think is maybe partly the episode, partly you being with us, Al. But we've been more active on Blue Sky recently, and Twitter
the good people are.
Yeah, Twitter's sort of dying a bit, and Blue Sky, we've had a great response to stuff, so it's been really pleasing.
I think it's a great showcase. I don't think it's massively changed my opinion of her era, but I think it's really good to hear other people's opinions and why they enjoyed it. And it's interesting that Third Doctor comment came up, and that's come up a few times. I think.
Yeah, a couple of times.
I think it is that case of there's Doctor Who out there for everyone, which is
exactly that's it.
The whole point, I guess, really. So yeah, it's I didn't not like it. I'll put it that way. I didn't not.
If you're gonna rate it out of 10, where would you be hedging? Do you think?
I'd give it a high 7.
Okay, that's all right. That's higher than I thought you was going to do it. So.
Yeah.
I'll take that one. Right. Give it a high 7, and it's fantastic.
I'll give it a high 7. I think.
Yeah.
I think it zips along at fair old speed. You're never going to get bored watching that because I think there's enough going on constantly on screen. It's got some great camera techniques. It's got there's a lot of tropes in there that, like we've just been discussing. But I think, they're all watchable tropes. Like
enjoyable.
Yeah, it's not bad, yeah.
There's the sort of underground city, the kind of, above, below, within, without. You could transpose that to a Third Doctor story, because in the same way that I found it a little bit of a runaround, it's exactly what the Third Doctor did.
I know, that's it.
The Third Doctor would go in that same scenario, and he would have probably come across as you've been like, oh, that was absolutely marvellous.
Well done, Joe.
I say, Joe.
Well, talking of Third Doctor, so I was going to say, would you like to join us for another one of these soon? Now, it doesn't have to be a 13th Doctor. We've got.
No, I'd quite like to watch another couple of. I mean, everybody talks about Villa Diodati. It's come up a few times tonight. Again, not one that I've seen. I have to be honest. I tuned out for a lot of the 13th Doctor era.
That's all right. We can help you address that deficit. Do not worry. You come to the right place, my friend. Don't you worry about that. Yeah.
Well, that's it. So you guys are very enthusiastic about it, and that in and of itself makes me sort of intrigued. There will be people out there that will probably be like, he didn't watch it, but it's like.
I imagine there'll be a lot of people who will absolutely want you to watch it and be really interested to hear what you think. So I think we should definitely do that because
it is one
of my favourites.
And the Third Doctor, obviously the new collection is coming out soon, and we've got Spearhead from Space, Doctor Who and the Silurians, Ambassador's Death, and Inferno on that. So maybe we could tackle something in it, or maybe we could watch one of the special features and chat about that.
I'd love to watch it. I'd love to watch that if there was a way to do it. My only problem is I'm not sure how I would do it.
7 episodes of the story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Really a digital man. I could watch the old one while you guys watch the special edition. I could make it up.
It's still on iPlayer, isn't it?
Still on iPlayer.
Yeah, we could watch it through there. It's not different on the Blu-ray, is it? Paul, did you just have an idea?
Well, I thought maybe we could take like an episode from each story or something, or take an episode from Inferno and talk through it. Or
that's a nice idea.
You know what I mean? So we don't have to do the whole story. We'll just do maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, that would
There's
be
only
good.
4 stories in total, isn't there? I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, we could do that actually. Yeah, and then I'm just looking it up on Amazon. There's quite a few extras as well. New documentary, splendid chap, profile of Nicholas Courtney, looking for uncovering the story of Malcolm Hulke, terror in the suburbs when the Doctor came to Earth. Various different things there. Yeah.
there's a lot
So,
on there. Yeah,
they've
there's
always
I
got a
can't
lot on
wait.
there.
We got
Yeah.
our pre-orders in, haven't we, Jeff?
Yep. Beginning of March.
Aye,
Yeah.
magic,
Yeah.
magic, good stuff. Listen, gents, I kind of need to go.
Yes, I
So
should.
I'm going to sign off. Are you sticking on, or are you heading out?
No, I will go. I need to get the kids' stuff ready for school tomorrow
Packed
as
lunches
well.
are done, mate.
See, it's good.
You know,
Lunches are done, so everything is good. Yeah. So listen, thanks again. I've really.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime, mate. You know, anytime and every
Yeah.
time. And it's always an absolute delight and a pleasure to have
Yeah.
you
I
on, sir.
really enjoyed it tonight because there was a real kind of not argument, but there was a real kind
Yeah.
of, you go
Slight
firmly
differences.
fighting your corner, and I was
Yeah.
probably fighting my
Well,
corner, and I actually
yeah.
quite like
They
that.
tend to be our most listened to episodes, don't they? Actually, we did one
Yeah.
with Kill the Moon, didn't we? Where Jeff loves it and I really didn't love it at all. So we did what was it? We called it Battle Royale.
Battle
That was it.
Royale. Yeah.
Isn't it funny though how that
Mm.
happens? Sorry, and I know you got to go, but it is funny how that happens. Sometimes people get quite sort of entrenched about the stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
you
yeah.
watch it on the right day with the right people and at the right time, and you might love a story, and then other people
Yeah.
are like, "What the hell do you like about that?"
Exactly. It's endlessly interesting. But
Yeah.
you're right. How we did come at this one from corner and other corner today. See what I did
Yeah.
there? Yeah.
Oh, I like what you did.
Yeah. Yeah.
was
It's-
Brilliant. I think we should quit while we're
I
ahead
think,
there.
yeah. Let's end on that.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not going to get any better than that now.
No, let's end on a high.
Okay.
Thank you both, and thank you everyone for listening, and to everyone who contributed as well. And we'll catch you next time on the podcast.
Take care, everybody. Bye for now. Till
Bye.
next time.
Cheers.